So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rachad Salem, my good friend from Lebanon. He's originally from Lebanon, but Rachad and I met during
Los
that,
Angeles.
during that famous decade of LA partying and growing up in LA and having our first jobs in LA and getting into adulthood and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's been a nice experience. LA is definitely mind expanding for sure.
Mind expanding is a good word to use
Yeah,
for Los Angeles, that is for sure.
the culture of no culture, right?
A culture of no culture.
It's where everybody leaves the culture at the door and they just come in and communicate on a human level, right? That's what we're.
Interesting. Rachad and I, we both love Los Angeles. That's pretty obvious. How did you even end up in LA?
Just randomly, man. Like I was an architect in Lebanon, and I was not very satisfied with the work I was doing. I was drafting most of the time, and I knew that I could see some stuff and like that was cloudy to me, and that was unavailable and inaccessible here. And I was just visiting some cousins, and I met up with Yervant there, which is also a common friend of ours. And he was like, "Man, you should be moving to LA. Come on, man! Like, this is where it's happening. This is where growth is happening." And I moved to LA. That why I had no idea where I was moving to. I had no idea what LA was about, and it was a giant surprise, beautiful surprise though. And I got to meet all those beautiful people, and that was actually the first step in my digital fabrication path, where I went from being a designer, an architect, to completing the full circle and becoming a maker, right? So digital fabrication is like the new revolution of making. So like it started with let's say the computer. So like a village, the first revolution. There was one PC in the entire village, right? And now everybody has a PC. The second one was the telephone. There was like one telephone in the village, and now everybody has a telephone in their pockets. The third one was the industrial one, and we went to producing like from one place, like one big company, to producing on a global scale and like shipping to global scale. And this new revolution, the digital fabrication, is about localized, personalized production. The concept is pretty easy. We have like every city, small city, will have like a fabrication lab, and that fabrication lab is self-sustained. That fabrication lab can produce another fabrication lab with the machines that they have. And there's like many sectors in the digital fabrication. And what I fell in love with is additive manufacturing. So there's additive, there's reductive, and there's casting and molding, and like all those other stuff. So additive means it's like a toothpaste, right? So like it's 3D printing is additive, and it's adding layer above layer. And I fell in love with it because it allowed me to be an earthbender.
It allowed you to be a what?
An earthbender, right? So we're working with earth material.
Like clay, for example.
Clay, ceramics, earth. Actually, you can mix that with concrete, and you can print with that. You know, like on different scales. And where we started at is like a small scale printing and testing and material exploration, right? And hopefully we're moving forward towards big scale architectural printing. And we've had that conversation, you and I, about solving the 30-year mortgage, right? So like you want to buy a house, how long is it gonna take you, right? So you can feel safe. So
shouldn't be like a 30-year mortgage. We should be more affordable. Made quickly, needs to look aesthetically pleasing to the eye, and full of form, function, utility, and just I guess, yeah, it could be 3D printed, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And like, so those tools, why they are interesting to me? They are interesting because for such a long time, um, I'm gonna talk a little bit about society, and
Sure, go for it.
I feel people they create companies, and when you ask a person like why did you create that company, right? And usually the 90% of the answer is for the money, and I like there's something neurotic about this. Like the purpose of a company is not to make money. The purpose of a company is to have a vision and to push forwards towards that, right? And it helps if you are that vision. So you don't want to copy paste a vision. You want to be that vision. You want to like
Live
embrace
out
it.
those values and
Right. Because like as an artist or as an architect or as a maker or as anything, I'm really interested in I'm gonna quote Alex on this one. So Alex Martinez,
Alex Martinez.
yes. So
Salute.
he mentioned one time that we all live in like um, subjective realities, but we share the same emotions. We all feel the same, right? So the only way to express and to understand each other is with empathy bridges between those, and those digital fabrication tools are kind of bringing consciousness back into like the scientific part, right? So like in 1600s, Galileo separated consciousness from science and says this is, we calculate, math is the language here, and then consciousness is like, oh, we'll talk about that later. So later is now, and we're talking about that now. And we're kind of bridging those two, right? And like transforming those emotions, that metaphysical, using those tools to really connect and interact with people and understand understand the vision, right? And like translate that vision. And
Okay.
that's the most interesting part for me, definitely.
Okay.
And
Can I take a quick pause to just summarize everything that you've articulated so far, just for the audiences, right? So
yeah,
obviously, Rachad, you seem to be a very like an architect who's a deep thinker and who's thinking about a lot of philosophies in your artistic expression as an architect slash artist. And I suppose, you're fascinated by this new revolution of digital fabrication, where you feel like, in today's design world, advanced digital fabrication is going to play such a key role that every city, like you mentioned, is going to have these tools. Tools could be, an example could be like a CNC machine or an advanced 3D printing machine that can use all kinds of materials like ceramics, clay, concrete, etc. And you guys would be at the forefront of, shaping the future through materials and pattern and shape, and through like these software tools, make the software, file, pass it on to these local digital fabrication labs, say in Jodhpur, and you could be anywhere in the world, and we
right.
would just print it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing that gets printed, the physical manifestation of it all, is obviously going to have all these deep philosophies that you dearly care about how that design and its aesthetic is going to impact human emotions, how people are going to interact with it,
Mm-hmm.
and there could be so many examples of it. I mean, I'm missing some pictures, but even the totems that you're designing, they have certain intention put into that design.
Oh
And
yeah,
so I
definitely.
guess, right, so all of that's like really fascinating. So obviously a deep philosophical intention has been put behind your creations as part of Godot Studio,
Mm-hmm.
which is very fascinating to me. And so, I guess that's kind of where most of your time goes, right? Is to thinking about how you can use your passion for digital fabrication and create some value.
So philosophical spiritual. I like to say spiritual. I feel that it's a holistic thing. We've been in ages of specialization, right? Like the school and like you specialize only in one thing. And I feel when you're making or you're trying to create, it's more of a holistic approach. Your state of mind matters. It's very important. It's gonna reflect in the work you do. So they're not separated. And that's what we're trying to do with Godot Studio, and it's been amazing. Like probably it's the first job I'm gonna say that I wake up excited. I'm like, where's Julian? Let's talk about stuff. Let's create. Let's make.
Co-founder.
You're right. Julian is the co-founder. It has definitely been interesting.
So do you want to share a little bit about how the Godot journey started between you and Julian, and what was like the initial vision of the products that you wanted to create? Because I mean, I do remember you posting stories of those really exquisite looking totems, and I personally love the coffee mugs you designed. It's just they're very unique.
Right.
And yeah, so tell me more what the initial vision was or is, and what was the motivation behind building those products specifically?
So Julian and I, we met in Spain, and we went to the same school and we did the same masters. And I left Spain after that. And a year later, I came back to Spain, and Julian called me up and was like, "Hey man, do you want to come over and check out this new printer I got?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I went
Like a 3D printer?
like a 3D printer, yeah.
Okay.
And I thought it was like a plastic, like a small scale. And I went and I saw this huge ass printer, like 3 meters by 2 meters, and like he was pumping clay into it, and he was printing like cylinders. And so
and
Julian
that's
is
the one where it would go and make those rings, right?
Yes,
I think it's on his
exactly.
Instagram. I can put a picture or video of it.
Exactly, yeah.
It's
So
like
3D printers,
yeah.
they are based on an XYZ system. It's pretty
Sure.
simple. You just tell the head of the extruder where it has to go, each point on an XYZ grid. And it just goes there, and you tell it, okay, here you flow this much, here you flow this much. So that's like, right?
And is that what is computational design?
No, so here is
all right. I'll cut
here's
that out.
no, it's okay. So computational design comes into that.
Okay.
Right. So that's the beautiful thing that I loved about Godot is that me as an architect and designer and computational designer, I was always interested in the making part. So I got exposure to the making part, and Julian comes from the exact opposite. So Julian comes from the making world, and he's really good with his hands, and he used to be a woodworker, and he's accurate and on point, and he learned the computational design, and we kind of like just like, okay, let me try to design something and let's print it. So that's how it started. It was as simple as that, and then we spent like months every day, like all time, just chilling, working on that printer. It was what we did. It was it was what we did, and a lot of stuff started coming up, like the material were changing, the clay consistency. So it's a trade, it's you have to put in a lot. And then one day Julian told me he used to mix the clay with water, and one day he's like, "Do you want to mix the clay today?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Then let me get my hands dirty." And that was it, bro. That was it. I was hooked at that point. It's just handling that raw material in your hands and understanding that what process it has to go through to become to achieve its final form,
Yeah.
And from there, we're like, okay, this is super interesting. What can we do with this? Obviously, large-scale architectural. Obviously, some more structure analysis. Obviously, like we have to like find uses for this. It's such a nice and circular process, right? There's no waste. You're not throwing anything out. If the print fails, you just put the clay back in and just dump it in the machine, you know? So like, um, we can eliminate a lot of societal problems with what we were discovering. And that's where Godot started,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
So it's like a passion of getting access to these advanced 3D printing machines, but then it sounds like the making of the actual product involves a little bit of both, you know, designing in the software, then putting that software file into action using a 3D printing machine. And then eventually the final form also requires some working with the hands, it seems like, and that's when you get the final product. But I guess the USP for any nature buff out there who's listening to this conversation is like that you are consciously thinking about reducing waste in the process, and I guess in a way keeping your carbon footprint close to zilch, and just being conscious about circular economy principles of not reducing waste and ensuring
Earth,
that
right?
yeah,
It's Earth. You're printing Earth, right? And like some companies are like you can build a house with Earth. You can just like mix it with a little bit of cement, right? And you can just 3D print the whole house.
yeah,
And yeah, zero waste, which is crazy. Everybody should be doing this. What are people doing?
zero waste does sound very promising.
Yeah.
So tell me about this. What would be the three things that you would make as part of Godot Studio that you would want in your life? Yeah.
Interesting. That's an interesting question. So definitely housing. Incorporate all those permaculture concepts, living with nature, by nature, from nature, in sync with nature. It's a trick question a little bit, because anything I make, I want in my apartment. Like sometimes we just print like noodles and it's noodled up and it's like just fail. It's a fail, and I'm like, okay, bake this. I'm keeping this at home, you know.
Like a showpiece. Still
Yeah,
looks
I mean,
good.
it has so much emotional value to me, and because
Yeah.
I went like it's the entire process, right? You learn to fall in love with that process, and really anything that comes out of that process, you know that there's love, there's passion, there
Yeah.
is so that's where the beauty comes from, right? At least to us.
So, I mean, the whole concept of, because the first thing that came to your mind was housing, right? So housing
Right,
around,
right.
I guess, permaculture principles, where it allows you to live in sync with all species around you and, you know, in harmony with nature. So I mean, that's a topic that is new to me, but it's actually taking a lot of traction in India now. And I'm learning and I'm meeting more and more people who are into those subjects. And because India is like a perfect example for permaculture, right? Because you've got like stray cattle and street dogs and on the street all the time, and you've got, you know, human beings already sort of living in harmony with them, but there's, you know, still a lot of scope for improvement in terms of the aesthetic and in terms of having those I mean, in terms of just the, you know, I guess we can do a better job of just taking care of nature around us. There's still a lot of waste on the streets. There's still a lot of trash on the streets, which is aesthetically not pleasing to the eye, and also not a hotbed for diseases, if you will, right? So still, but just this general eco consciousness awareness is increasing every day, which is great to notice. So maybe some of these people here in India would find it fascinating to speak with you and brainstorm some ideas and incorporate digital printing into their permaculture design, because I mean, working with clay and things of these nature could be a useful knowledge transfer, I would believe. So yeah.
I feel that the Eastern world, so there's like this division between the Eastern world and the Western world, where the Western world has like prioritized innovation and science and math, and like and you kind of lost everything that the Eastern world is like really deeply immense, that space of inner peace and really understanding yourself as a human and your connection to other humans. So working with, like, bringing that technology, going there, making a holistic thing, understanding, starts with the self, right? So I would love, man, like my next step in 5 years is probably to move to the east and start building those bridges.
That sounds promising. So in this moment, I'm going to put you on the spot before we wrap this interview up. And I kind of want you to drop into your flow state and answer this with as much intention and honesty as possible. So the question is, if you had no fear, Rachad, no fear of failure, no fear of being able to make rent, no fear of judgment from society, which dream or aspiration or vision would you turn into reality?
Interesting. Is that a trick question?
No, it's not. It's whatever comes to your mind.
Oh man, okay. Uh, Nothing, man. With fear, nothing. Without fear, nothing can be achieved. I mean, that's my point of view. I feel fear is an important emotion. If you're on the street and a dog is running at you, you have to feel a little bit of fear so you know where to run. If you don't have fear, the dog is gonna bite you. And it's like a map, right? It's like a compass. It's like pointing you. And I always bring it back to spiritual talk, but fear, among other emotions, they are part of the metaphysical and they are part of that translation. And it's important to listen to it, let it guide you, and yeah, I guess I wouldn't change anything in my path right now. Like this is exactly where I want to be, what I want to be doing. Um, it wasn't easy to be here in that state of flow, but that's the beautiful thing about the state of flow. You only have to get it once, and you understand, right? Right, never leaves you. So I guess that would be my answer. Fear and anger and enjoyment, disgust, like any type of emotion. It's important to look at those and find those translations.
That's interesting. So you would
Sure.
want to stay in the flow of continuing with Godot and taking it to wherever the end destination would be, which I mean, the end, there's no such thing as an end destination, right? It's just,
Yeah.
today you
So
guys are
you're
making totems and coffee mugs,
yeah.
and you have this vision of building permaculture houses, which sounds
Yes.
really, really, I think you should visit India. You will find a lot of interesting places to do permaculture design here.
Yeah, so yeah, it's more of a dance. Like you're walking down the road, you see a bag full of gold. You stop, you open that
Mhm.
bag, and then if there's some fear in there and like some other emotion, and like, okay, maybe I'll take that road next time, maybe that road. But you're on the road, right? And
Yeah.
there's bags out there, and you're looking in the bags. And if you never look in the bag, you'll never find anything, right? So you have to look. It's
You have to
important.
look, I guess, take action on that desire to
100%. Yeah,
manifest a vision that you
yeah,
hold dear in your
yeah.
heart. But before I let you go today, do you mind sharing some of your reasons to support this film project and maybe urge people to donate some money?
Oh yes, of course, man. Like, where do I start with this? Like, I love you guys so much, and I'm in love with the vision and what you guys are trying to achieve. And it's a company with a vision. That's my selling point. The vision is more important, much more important than economical success or finance. Like that, the whole translation is different here, and supporting artists. It's a rescue for humanity, man. Like we need artists now more than ever. We need those expressions. We need people to understand themselves better, right? Like when you're watching somebody perform or just be creative and be himself. You just don't learn about the art or about the guy. You learn a lot about yourself and what you are capable of doing. This is within you. You are him in a different situation, right? We are all the same, and it's just beautiful what you guys are doing, and I just can't wait for the video to be released. So I guess, yeah.
Double thumbs up from Rachad.
Double thumbs up for me, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could relate to a lot of what you said. I found this idea very interesting that when we look at a performer or an artist performing, it's like, you know, we see us in them, which kind of translates to like, you know, well, we can push ourselves to be as finessed or as skilled as this person if we
Oh,
put in the
yeah.
effort. And that feeling must feel very good, that flow state that the artist is in when they're performing, right? I guess it's about that feeling
Yeah,
of
and like
being in.
once you engage in the process and you see somebody that's really good, you understand the entire process of discipline and empathy and
Sacrifice.
self-knowledge and sacrifice. Like you can see all of that in front of you,
Yeah.
and I feel everybody should take a look at that. Should take a really good look at that. Yeah, for sure.
Well, they should watch this film if they want to take a look at that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that is amazing. That is a good place to wrap up our interview today. Thank you for your
Man,
time.
amazing. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I learned a lot about Godot. I learned a lot about how it started. I learned a lot about what, you know, your passion for making things using digital fabrication, all the exciting steps in the process of using the machine, software, the machine, then using your hands, and you know, your present prototypes look oof, you
Muy
know,
caliente.
exactly that. And then the long-term vision of, you know, taking this vision and this knowledge to even building like big houses and 3D printing them, reducing the cost and ensuring that, you know, they're permaculture design inspired so that they can be in a symbiotic relationship with nature. There's so much going on here with Godot, short-term and long-term, that I wish you all the best. And I hope to do another interview with you and Julian soon.
Yeah, anytime, man. Just let us know, and we are here. Godot and SpiceTech, you know, we're sister companies.
That's great. All right, buddy. You have
Amazing, man.
a great remaining, great evening in Lebanon, and I'll see you soon.
All right, bro.
Peace.